Hi, Bill here with 30 Minute Woodshop. Thanks for joining. Today, I want to show you what to do with some of those whiskey barrel scraps. Now, if you've been following some of my other videos, like the coasters, the smoker, the other stuff that I got out there, cigar holders and whatnot. Matter of fact, take a look up here and you can probably find one. They're going to have some scraps. So, I want to show you what to do with some of these small pieces. I got a couple of 9-inch, 10-inch pieces right here. These are perfect for this next project. What we're going to do is make a rustic whiskey barrel key holder. So keep watching, I'll show you how to do it. So let's start with a couple things. First, what I have down here is called a bench hook. If you don't have a bench hook, you really need to make one. Matter of fact, I'll do a short on this sometime in the near future. You can see how to make one. It's super easy. But if you're using hand tools, you really, especially hand saws, you really need to make this. What happens is actually it sits like this, knock the wood against here, cut it off with a saw. Super easy when you're cutting small stuff. I'm just turning it around here so you guys can see what's actually going on. Now, what I've done here is this. I wanted my mounting holes in to be 1 inch in from the end and centered top to bottom. So what happens here is this is 2 inches, this is about just a hair over 2 1/4. So mark the center here and center here. Because this is tapered, the barrel stave, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a center line on it. This is just a straight edge I made. And pick the pencil. All right. So that gives me a center line. Now what I want to do here is a couple things. I want to come in 1/4 of an inch from each side because that's where I'm going to set my first cup hook or key hook. Okay, so that's where the first one's going to be. All right, so they come in a quarter of an inch from each side. That's where my first hook's going to be. So I've already measured that here. All I've done is taken we'll start putting these in. 1 1/4. And there we go. So one thing I got to do here is I punched the wrong hole. I need to punch this hole right here. That's my end hole. There we go. End hole, and then my first hole. So what I've done here too, I've already set this for 1 7/16. That divides it equally across this entire surface. So just to show you that how these are going to look. So 1 7/16 should give you plenty of room to reach in, grab your keys, unless you're like some ladies I know and have the big wad of keys. So you may have to change yours a little bit. So just to give you, this just gives you a rough idea of how it's going to look in the end. So now what I have to do, I got to actually mark the holes. Like I said, I want this a little higher than I thought. I'm going to mark the holes across here, and I'm going to pre-drill using a 1/16 of an inch bit because the screws that go on these things are really tiny. And I know if I try and put too much torque on them, they'll break. I've tried these before, by the way. Let me mark this and do a little bit of drilling, and I'll be back in a second. I've got these stepped off using my dividers, okay? I'll put a link to the bottom to the dividers. You really can't get along without those things. These make the job much easier, let's put it that way. And I've pre-punched all the holes, so I have a place for my drill to go. All right, I'm putting a 3/16 inch drill in here. I'm not going in very deep at all because these screws are, they're tiny. These things are, boy, they're 3/16 of an inch long, I'll be surprised. All right, and as you can see, or maybe you can't see, moving it up there puts the center of the hole, the center, right in the center line. So exactly where we want it to be. Now all I'm going to do is drop a hole in here. And there we go. Now I need to sand off all that crap and then come back and I'm going to hit this with a finish before I do anything else. So a little bit more work. Drill 2 more holes all the way through. And to do that, I'm going to use this 7/32. Yeah, 7/32 bit. So let's do that right now. By the way, the bench hook is also a bench saver. As you can see, I use it for drilling also. So this is what I got. I'm going to do a quick sanding to get the marks off, the pencil marks, around the edges a little bit. Don't have to worry too much about it because this is going up on the wall. People will just be picking things off, but I do want to soften that edge. I'm going to come back and then I'm going to throw a coat of dark stain on this. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a quick varnish. And then I'm finally going to put the cup hooks in and we'll be done. So stand by. All right, all I'm doing is slapping on a coat of this Minwax dark walnut. I really like the way this stuff looks on the oak. It gives it an antique, really dark oak finish. So I think it looks pretty good. And I don't have any extra gloves because they all got used up, but that's okay. Hopefully I won't get too much on my hands. Wipe off the excess. So we're gonna let this dry for a little bit, and then we're gonna come back and throw on a couple of wipe-on coats of polyurethane. It'll give it a nice satin finish once this is dried up. And wiping off. So this is white oak. And white oak is really tight grained and doesn't absorb a lot. So most of this finish comes off and it dries up really pretty fast on it. You can see how dark that made that. You can see the patina really well where the barrel bands were. So it's looking good. So we'll be back in a little bit once this dries and we'll throw some varnish on it. We've managed to wait for a while here, get this dry. Now we're going to throw on some satin poly. It only takes a little bit. Now, if you remember watching my other videos, the back sides are already actually been sealed. I always clean this off and seal it before it shows up in the house or in the garage. And there we have it. So we'll let this dry for a couple hours. This requires 2 hours between coats, and I want to put 2 coats on it. So I'll be back in a couple hours, put another coat on it, and then we'll do the final assembly. I'll be back. Well, 2 coats on this, 2 coats of polyurethane, sanded in between, nice and smooth. Let's come in close and I can show you how to put on these cup hooks. Okay, you can see how tiny these screws are. These hooks are just big enough for some keys. These aren't monster hooks, so it's fairly simple to do. And I'll tell you, without having the pre-drilled 1/16 inch holes, getting these on would be really tough. This white oak, even now, it's pretty tough to get them in. I'm a little afraid of basically twisting them right off, but they're plenty strong enough to hold these sets of keys in there. And there we have it. Well, I have to say, I had a great time making this little project. Super quick and easy. Leftovers from some of the previous projects that I have done with barrel staves. Matter of fact, if you've done some of those projects, you may have similar pieces laying around. Great way to repurpose them. All you really need is 1.5 to 2 inch piece of barrel stave, about 9-10 inches long. Drill a couple of mounting holes in it and drop in some hooks. You can expand this for as much as you want. Matter of fact, you can do 2 tiers or however you want to work that. So it's pretty easy to make this and change it up for your own personal use. Go down below if you're interested, hit more. Take a look at some of the tools and things. I have links down there for tools and other things that I use here regularly in the shop. You also find a link to my blog. Take a look at that, and my Facebook page, of course, and probably Instagram. So check those out. And hey, if you had fun watching this, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. And hey, until next time, good making.